Dennis from Woodsongs. Welcome to our 4th video. This video will be called The Major Scale. And I hope you enjoyed that more up-tempo music on the introduction. Somebody told me that the last few videos the music was slow and it was more like an elegy for Woodsongs, and we definitely don't want that because we are planning on thriving and surviving into the future, so I don't think you need to worry about that. So if you take a look at my computer screen, what you see there now is an example of a filled out note mapping diagram. So this is something you should have done on your own from video 3. But I filled it out just to show you how it should be done correctly. If yours doesn't look like this, something's wrong. So let's just take a quick look at it. Here's the open strings of the guitar. Low E string, 6th string is located back here, where it says open strings. E to F, as you know from the previous lesson, E to F is a half step. It's only movement by 1 fret. Remember those 2 exceptions, E and F and B and C. You absolutely must memorize that. Movements between those 2 sets of notes is only a half step by 1 fret. All other adjacent notes, for example, A to B, G to A, those are whole steps, meaning 2 frets. So therefore, if the 6th string open is E, moving up 1 fret to the 1st fret is F, to G is a whole step, to A is a whole step. Notice this A at the 5th fret. That happens to be the same A as the next string open, the 5th string open. In music, that is called a unison. So for example, if you have 2 people singing, they're standing next to each other singing the exact same note, they are singing in unison. So for example, on my guitar, if I play open E, it's back here. 1st fret is F. You want to memorize this, get it real solid. G, 3rd fret. 5th fret is A. That 5th fret A is no different than the 5th string open. It's the same pitch. So back in the old days, when I was a kid and you tuned the guitar, that's how you tuned the guitar, was by that comparison method. Okay? Why would you use one A versus the other? Well, they have a different sound quality to them. Sometimes it has to do with convenience of fingering. Sometimes you just want a different sound, or you want to do a little trick like slide into the A note fretted and then play the open A. All right, that's kind of an old rock and roll lick. Let's look at the 5th string. A is the 5th string open, to B is a whole step, therefore it's on the 2nd fret. To C is a half step, that's one of our exceptions. C to D is a whole step on the 5th fret. Same example, this D at the 5th fret is the same D as the 4th string open, right? So A, B, C, D is the same as 4th string open. Those are unisons. So therefore, you can play the D in different locations depending on what you're playing or whatever sound you want. We'll talk about that a little bit more in detail. Let me switch over to the ukulele. So notice on the G string there, our high 4th string of the, if it's tuned high of course, which it usually is on the ukulele, is a high G. And to go to A, it's a whole step. To go to B, it's another whole step. And then from B to C, that is our exception, right? B to C is a half step. So on the ukulele, open G is fingered back here. You obviously don't have to finger it. To A is a whole step. To B is another whole step. And then to the 5th fret is C. Now that C is an octave higher than the next string open, which is a low C. Okay? So it's the same principle. It's just that since the ukulele has that high string, we're going to drop down to the lower string after it. So let's start that C string open. C to D is a whole step, right? According to my diagram. D to E is also a whole step. E to F, however, is a half step. Okay? Now, on the ukulele, of course, since the next string open is an E, I could have stopped right here on this D and then gone up to the open E. Or I could play C, D, E on the C string and gone to the 4th fret of the C string, and that would be an E also. That's the same note. Okay? But I suggested you practice the notes up to the 5th fret at least. okay, just so we kind of have this first 5 frets of the instrument covered. So I hope that's fairly clear, and you should practice that on your instrument. You should practice playing those note names and saying them in order, going up and down, okay? Now the next step is to play those fingerings in 2 dimensions. So what I mean is this. The first scale fingering you want to practice is always involving an open string if possible. So if we go back to my guitar diagram, so I'm going to play open E on the 6th string, F, G. Now I could go to the A at the 5th fret, but what I'd like you to do is go to the open A on the next string. So you're just going to do each alphabetical note. Whenever it's possible, use the open string. That's what I would call open fingering, or we could call it first position fingering. So for example, E, F, G, open A. B, C, we're going to go to open D, which is the next string. E, F, and then open G, next string. A, 2nd fret, and those are the only 2 notes on that string in this particular fingering. We go directly to the next open B. C is a half step, 1st fret, and D, whole step. Next string is going to be played open. E, F, G, and I can go up to my high A if I want. Okay? So that's one way to practice the fingerings of the notes on the fretboard up to the 5th fret, just using A through G. We're not talking about sharps and flats yet. The next way to do it is finger a fretted note instead of an open note if possible. So for example, E, F, G, I'm going to slide up to the A, and I'm not going to play the open A. I'm going to go directly to the B on that string. C, I'm going to play fretted D and not open D. Then I'm going to go E, F, fretted G, not open G. A, B. Now here I have a choice. I could go to the C right here on the 5th fret, or I could cross strings and go to the 2nd string 1st fret. That's also a C. So G, A, B, C. Either one's fine. Just get familiar with their location, okay? Next string, I'm going to play my C, D, and I'm not going to play open E, but I'm going to play fretted E on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, okay? And then from that E, I'm going to go to my F on the 1st string, G, and A. And again, practice this, whatever your instrument is, mandolin, ukulele, banjo, really doesn't matter. It's very useful. Practice these fingerings where you're playing what were open strings fretted. Don't be concerned about, again, what finger should I use? How should I do it? It doesn't matter if you slide the first finger all the way up the string if you do this. You just want to get familiar with the location of these notes, okay? So it's very important also as you do it, recite the note names, okay? Say them out loud. That's very important. Okay, now the next step is, let's go to the keyboard for a moment. Let's talk about the major scale. So let me go to my web browser where I have a virtual piano set up here. All right, so you see my piano set up here. What we did in the previous lesson is we started on the A note and we went up the natural notes. We went to B, C, D, E, F, G, A, on upward. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with our center of gravity, or our starting point, as a C. That's going to be home. Notice when I go from C to D, there's a black key. D to E, there's a black key. What that means is between C and D and E, there's 2 whole steps. But notice between E and F, there is no black key. That's one of our exceptions. So now we have a formula of half steps and whole steps that we want to start to memorize. 2 whole steps and 1 half step. That's the formula I just did. Now check out the next part of the scale. F to G, whole step, G to A, whole step, A to B, whole step, B to C, half step. I'm back where I started. So in the top part of the scale, I had 3 whole steps and 1 half step. So our formula is simply this: 2 whole steps plus a half step, 3 whole steps plus a half step equals a major scale. That's true no matter what note you start on, you'll get a major scale. So if I demonstrate that, for example, on my guitar on the A string, remember, think of it this way. You think of 2 whole pies and a half a pie, 3 whole pies and a half of a pie laid out across a picnic table. That's the formula for a major scale. So if I play my open A, which is back here, I go a whole step. That takes me to the 2nd fret. I go another whole step, 4th fret. Then I go a half step. So there's my 2 wholes plus a half. Then I'm going to do 3 whole steps. 7th fret, 9th fret, 11th fret is my 3rd whole step, and then to finish it off, my final half step. So that was an A major scale. And you can practice just doing that from any note on the guitar until you run out of frets. It's a good exercise. It's what your ear naturally knows as, you know, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Sorry, I lost my train of thought on that for a moment. So when you're doing that movement up the string, doing 2 whole steps and a half step, 3 whole steps and a half step, just starting with any open string or starting really on any note, don't worry about what are the names of these notes. We will get there eventually. It's just a good process to practice up one string, okay? So take a look at the guitar diagram on the computer now again. So now what I would like you to do is I want you to start on the C note. So we're going to be starting on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. That's a C. Do the notes in alphabetical order from there. Whatever your instrument is, ukulele, banjo, mandolin, doesn't matter. Start with C. For the guitar, I would go to the next string open, which is D, E's the 2nd fret, F's the 3rd fret. Then I play open G, A, open B, and C finally. That's called 1 octave. I played 8 notes. Octave, right? 8, like an octopus. Practice playing that backwards, descending. Recite the note names as you play, okay? Then start with the C on the 2nd string, the higher C, and then go to the D, E, open, F, G, up to the A at the 5th fret. If you're dying to finish it off, of course, you can slide to the 7th fret, which is a B, and the 8th fret, which is a C. You can practice that coming down. Recite them. C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. Do the next octave. C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. Okay? That's a C major scale. That's 1 fingering. Here's another fingering you should practice. Play the same scale using no open strings. So what that means is I'm going to play my C. Instead of going to my open D, I'm going to play the D here on the 5th fret of the A string. E, same place. F. G, however, I'm not going to play open, but I'm going to play on the 5th fret of that same string. Okay, A, 2nd fret, 3rd string. B, 4th fret. And now I have a choice here. I can go to the C, which is very close by, on the 5th fret, or I can go A, B, C, shift up to the C on the 2nd string. You should do them both. Let's keep going. C, D. I'm not going to play open E. I'm going to slide to the E here. Then I'm going to go to my F on the 1st string, 1st fret, G, A, and so on. I could finish it off if I want. So generally that's called closed position, meaning you're not using any open strings, okay? That'll be valuable, especially when you start learning fingering patterns that you slide up and down the guitar, where the open string would make things a bit more complicated, okay? Now, if you want to take this one step further, I would encourage you to take a look at this diagram. Here's my musical stairs. So we can do thirds, right? You remember from previous lesson I had you saying the musical alphabet in thirds? So what I do, think of a set of stairs. I start on C, I jump up to the middle stair E. That's movement of a third. Then I drop back to the stair that I skipped, which is D, and I skip up 2 stairs to F. So I'm basically hopping up 2 stairs, back 1, up 2, back 1. I go down to E, I skip to G, I drop down to F, I skip up to A, down to G, skip to B, down to A, up to C. Then descending the stairs, do the same thing in reverse. C down to A is a skip. Back up to the B stair, drop down 2 stairs to G, up 1 to A, 2 down to F, up 1 to G, 2 down to E, up to F, down to D 2 stairs, up to E, back to where you started on C. So what that sounds like on the guitar is this. You've heard this in music. It's pretty common. Right? And descending. And again, try to say the note names that you play. Once you take them out of linear alphabetical order, it really forces you to know them out of that context of the alphabet, and that's important. So you've got to be able to go C, E, D, F, E, G, F, A, G, B, A, C, B, D, C. And don't worry about singing the right pitches. If you can't hit those high notes, just say them verbally, okay? So that will take it a bit further. Let me just show it to you on the ukulele just briefly, since I know a lot of folks are playing the uke. I would suggest when you do the ukulele, start on the C string, okay? Your 3rd string, lowest note of the ukulele, okay? So if we play the C major scale in open position, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay? What if I do it with no open strings, okay? So I play my C, I play my D, and I have an open E here on the 2nd string, right? But I'm going to go to the E here on the 4th fret of the C string. So open 2, 4 is C, D, E. I'm not going to play the open E because I already played it on the 4th string. I'm going to go to F on the 1st fret, G, 3rd fret, A. I'm not going to go to the open string. I'm going to go to the 5th fret. So all closed fingerings, no open strings. And then B on the 2nd fret, right? Make sense? And then you can backtrack to that oddball high string up here, this G, and just play the notes on that string. G, A, B, C, right? Play them backward. C, B, A, G. And remember, that G is the unison note to this G on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. They're the same note. But that's one of the things that gives the ukulele its charming sound is, you know, that high string being in the wrong place, right? Gives you that kind of nice, airy, light sound. I think that's it. That's enough for one lesson. So practice. Take your time with it. Try to have fun. And what we'll do after this, once you have the C major scale and you're comfortable with the fingerings where the notes are located, we will talk about how chords are generated from scales. And that should solve a lot of mysteries. Okay, thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves.
you.